Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to take a whole stack of sources, pull out the most vital insights, and basically hand them over to you. It's your shortcut to being genuinely clued in. And today, we're diving into something really special. It comes from a fantastic request, actually, from a listener, K. Brad Barfield. Brad, you asked for something maybe a bit different, a little more fluff, you said.
Yeah, I saw that. Interesting framing.
Right. But we're taking that idea and we're running with it, not as, just likeness, but as a really vibrant way, a lens, to look at some incredible meaning in history.
So not fluff in the empty sense, but maybe fluff in the approachable sense.
Exactly. We are heading into Ashley County, Arkansas for a really unique deep dive. And our guides, well, they're the characters Brad created, Bronchi the donkey and Pig the pig.
Right, the ones with the bandanas.
Yes, bandanas tied snugly around their necks. They've got this whimsical, really approachable vibe that we think can unlock even some pretty dense historical stuff.
Makes sense. Using characters to make history less intimidating.
Totally. So think of this deep dive today, not just as a journey, but really as the first step. We're lighting the lantern at the trailhead, you could say.
Okay.
Okay, so let's unpack this incredible weekend journey we're embarking on with Bronchi and Pig into Ashley County, starting right now.
And what's really fascinating, I think, is how these characters, Bronchi and Pig, they kind of act as a bridge, don't they?
A bridge? How so?
Well, they take these foundational historical documents, like the biographical and historical memoirs of Ashley County, Arkansas. That's the Goodspeed one from 1890.
Okay, Goodspeed, 1890, got it.
And also Y.W. Etheridge's History of Ashley County, which came later, 1959. These texts, they're the bedrock, really. They preserve the lives, the struggles, the whole story of the people who shaped Ashley County.
Right, a raw material.
Exactly. But Bronchi and Pig, their job, as I see it, is to take these sometimes quite dense words, these sketches of everyday life, and just breathe life into them.
So it's not just reading history, it's feeling it.
Precisely. Making sure the knowledge isn't just heard, but actually felt, remembered. They turn that flat ink on the page into, I don't know, the rustle of pine needles or the sound of conversations from way back when.
That makes perfect sense, especially thinking about Brad's request. He specifically mentioned, and I love this phrase, that he's one of those people who learn while you listen to other people talk while you walk.
Okay. So the format really matters.
It really does. And that's a magic Bronchi and Pig bring, isn't it? They inject that humor and heart. Makes history feel warm, accessible.
Instead of just a dry list of facts and dates.
Exactly. It's less about presenting facts and more about creating those aha moments, letting us sort of experience the past alongside them. They deliver the knowledge, sure, quickly and thoroughly, but they sidestep that feeling of just being overloaded with information.
Right. It's history with personality.
Yeah. Imagine them like trotting through the years and pointing out some surprising little detail. It makes the whole exploration much more engaging.
And if we, connect this to the bigger picture, this whole approach, it's really about preserving local history in a way that genuinely resonates, across generations even.
Good point. It's not just for history buffs.
Not at all. Bronchi and Pig, they represent this kind of unique blend. It's part folklore, maybe, but grounded in factual documentation. They really embody the idea that history isn't some dusty old thing locked away.
That's alive.
It is alive, like the soil, like the rivers that are still carving their paths through the county, like the voices you can almost still hear out in the pine woods or, across the bayous.
That's a powerful image.
Well, it's a powerful way to make sure the heritage of a place like Ashley County is understood and hopefully cherished, not just as dates and names, but as this ongoing story that actually still shapes who we are today.
So they help us see the connections, the past influencing the present.
Exactly. They help us understand those subtle historical forces that are still at play in our communities, even if we don't always recognize them. Makes the past feel immediate, relevant.
Okay, so let's treat this deep dive right now as our sort of our initial exploration, getting our bearings in Ashley County's foundational story.
Laying the groundwork.
Yeah, we're not just setting the stage, we're actually stepping onto it, right alongside Bronchi and Pig. So today, we're going deep into the actual origins of Ashley County.
Where it all began.
Where it all began. We'll look at the earliest people there, the first frontier settlements, and really how the landscape itself, the rivers, the timber, dictated so much of how things developed.
It's about getting that full, rich context, understanding how this place actually came to be.
Exactly, giving you that complete picture right from the start.
And the intentionality of starting today with the origins, it's quite deliberate. We know you, our listener, value structure and clarity, like Brad mentioned.
Right, that learning while walking needs a clear path.
It does, and this approach gives you that. It immerses you straight away into those foundational layers of Ashley County. So, as Bronchi and Pig's story unfolds later, you'll have this clear grasp of the roots.
And why certain moments or developments really matter in the grand scheme of things.
Precisely. We're laying the groundwork for discovery, providing a framework that makes what can be a complex history feel digestible and hopefully genuinely engaging right from the get-go.
All right, so let's do it. Let's get Bronchi and Pig, our guides, and journey back. Way back to the very beginning. Can you picture them? Maybe standing on the banks of Bayou Bartholomew.
Or perhaps near the Saline River,
Yeah.
looking out over a landscape that was, vastly wilder than anything we know now.
Totally different world. What would they see? Who's there?
Well, their first observations undoubtedly would have to center on the indigenous people, the ones who first called that land home.
Before any Europeans arrived.
Absolutely. Our sources, especially Etheridge, who pulls from earlier accounts, they point us straight to the Quapaw, often called the downstream people.
Quapaw. Okay.
And this wasn't some empty wilderness the first explorers stumbled into, not at all. It was a land that was actively nurtured by really sophisticated farming practices.
Like what?
Well, the Quapaw cultivated maize, beans, squash, the Three Sisters. It was this balanced, sustainable agricultural system. They understood the rhythms of the land, the floods of the bayou depositing that rich silt. They created this vibrant world along the river bottoms.
Wow. So they really knew the environment.
Deeply. A profound connection, reflecting a real respect for the resources that sustain them. I can imagine Bronchi and Pig, with their sort of grounded perspectives, they'd really appreciate the ingenuity, the harmony of it all.
Oh, totally. I can just picture Pig, always thinking about food, discovering the genius of companion planting, maize, beans, squashed together, centuries ahead of its time.
Practical Pig appreciating practical agriculture.
And Bronchi, maybe quieter, observing their seasonal movements where they hunted, the trails connecting villages. They'd be seeing this world that was so deeply woven into the natural cycles.
It's a balanced world.
Yeah.
But then, the landscape starts to shift. And not just naturally, human intervention starts to play a bigger role.
Meaning the settlers start arriving.
Exactly. Our sources describe this gradual encroachment. Frontier settlements, early pioneers, often coming from places like Georgia, Mississippi, the Carolinas.
What drew them there?
Primarily the rich soil, perfect for farming, and the absolutely vast timber resources, especially those huge longleaf pines that really defined the region back then.
So resources brought them in.
Yes, and this marks the beginning of, surveyors. People like Nicholas Ryder, back in the 1820s, literally drawing lines on maps, lines of ownership, over a landscape that, for the Quapaw, was defined completely differently by kinship, shared use, stewardship.
That's a huge shift in thinking about land.
It's a fundamental clash of worldviews, really, a poignant moment when you think about it.
And this is where having Bronchi and Pig as guides is so great. I can just see them watching Ryder's team. Bronchi maybe tilting his head, puzzled by the chains and compasses.
Trying to see these invisible lines on the ground.
Yeah. And Pig, always practical, maybe sniffing the earth where the first furrows are being plowed. Watching the forest literally turn into farm plots.
Witnessing the transformation, they'd see the beginnings of settlements like Hamburg, Fountain Hill. Not as towns yet, just, clusters of cabins, brand new farms popping up.
Sounds rough.
Oh, it was. Goodspeed's memoirs from 1890, they give us these invaluable sketches of that early pioneer life. He talks about communities basically living on corn and hogs.
Simple survival.
Very much so. Roads were barely more than widened trails through thick woods connecting these scattered homesteads. It speaks to incredible determination, facing malaria, isolation, just untamed nature.
But there's another layer to this early period, isn't there? Something maybe not always highlighted in those older accounts.
Yes, and it's absolutely crucial to acknowledge it. This clearing of the land, the establishment of Ashley County around the 1840s, and the prosperity that followed, it was built in significant part on the forced labor of enslaved African Americans.
Their contribution was foundational.
Utterly foundational, yet often unacknowledged in those earliest narratives. Their work tilling the land, clearing forests, building the basic infrastructure, allowed these frontier communities to take root and grow.
So when Pig notes that the living dirt smells like it's breathing, as you imagine.
Yes, it's breathing, but for many, it breathed under the weight of unimaginable hardship and injustice. Etheridge's history from 1959, written later, gives us a bit more perspective. He helps connect the dots, looking back with a slightly wider, though still evolving, lens.
So Etheridge helps contextualize Goodspeed.
In a way, yes. Goodspeed gives that immediate late 19th century feel. Etheridge, writing mid-20th century, can offer a broader retrospective. He details things like the spirited debates over where the county seat should even be located.
Ah, the classic town rivalry.
Exactly. It shows the very human process of building a community from scratch, with all the arguments and ambitions that come with it.
So that really highlights the value of having both sources.
Yeah.
Goodspeed snapshot, Etheridge's longer view, plus acknowledging the parts of the story that were initially left out.
Absolutely. And Bronchi and Pig, they'd offer their unique take on these early struggles, too. Bronchi, maybe understanding burdens carried, observing the quiet strength of those working the land.
While Pig notices the sheer ingenuity needed just to survive on the frontier.
Could be. And they definitely overhear those arguments about the county seat. Imagine them listening in as folks debated whether Hamburg or Fountain Hill or somewhere else would get the courthouse. It brings the human drama right out of the historical record.
It makes it feel so much more real, moving beyond just the dates and official acts. You get the lived experience.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've journeyed with Bronchi and Pig through Ashley County's Quapaw roots, the arrival of frontier settlers. We've seen how rivers and timber started shaping its identity, using Goodspeed and Etheridge as our guides.
It's a fascinating start.
It really is. But Ashley County's story, it doesn't stand still, does it? It keeps evolving. So as we kind of wrap up this first deep dive into the origins, I can almost sense Bronchi and Pig looking ahead, their noses twitching maybe.
Smelling sawdust.
Exactly. Sawdust in progress. Because the next big chapter is looming.
Indeed. The narrative of the county takes a really sharp turn with the rise of the timber industry. It fundamentally reshaped everything, the economy, the community structures, the whole feel of the place.
We'll save the really deep dive on that for next time, right? But maybe we can set the stage a bit.
Definitely. It's worth laying out the framework because it's quite a story. Our sources, they talk about figures like Edgar Woodward Gates. They called him Cap Gates.
Gates, okay.
Him, along with Charles Warner Gates, Edward Savage Crossett, and Dr. John Wenzel Watzek. These guys pooled their resources, we're talking 1899, and bought a massive amount of land.
How much?
Around 50,000 acres, and they established the Crossett Lumber Company.
Wow, that's huge.
It was enormous. And it wasn't just about cutting down trees, it was about building an entire industrial ecosystem. They started with a temporary tent city, basically, and grew it into this meticulously planned town.
The town of Crossett.
The town of Crossett. And Cap Gates, he was apparently quite visionary for his time. He believed in reinvesting company profits back into the town housing, amenities for workers. That was pretty revolutionary back then.
Fostering loyalty and stability, I guess.
That was the idea. Long-term success.
Okay, I can already picture Bronchi and Pig in that future deep dive. Walking down those sawdust-covered lanes in early Crossett.
The smell of pine must have been everywhere.
Oh, yeah. Visiting the founding families, maybe seeing people finishing chores, tending gardens before evening sets in. The whole town humming with the sound of the mill.
They might notice the town's layout, too. It was purposefully designed, very structured.
And maybe they'd hear some of those local stories, like, didn't a circus go broke there once?
That's one of the tales. Apparently, Cap Gates bought some of the animals to entertain the local kids. Adds a bit of charm, doesn't it?
Totally. Or they might picture that wide Main Street Cap insisted on, perfect for parades. It's those details, brought out by imagining Bronchi and Pig there, that adds so much personality, makes these historical figures feel relatable.
And the broader significance of this whole sawmill era, you really can't overstate it. This industrial boom just profoundly shaped the community.
Changed everything.
Everything. The economy, the social structure, the daily rhythms of life. Sawmills turned those vast forests into economic powerhouses.
Brought jobs, people.
Jobs, infrastructure like railroads, whole new populations moving in. It created this really dynamic environment. Challenging sometimes, for sure, but it forged the identity of towns like Crossett.
So the forest wasn't just trees anymore.
It became the foundation for an entire way of life, providing timber for houses, railroad ties connecting the deep south, driving the economy. Maybe Bronchi and Pig in their travels might have even seen logs floating down Bayou Bartholomew before the railroads.
Really? Like log drives?
Could be. Early loggers used the bayou to get timber to mills downstream. Imagine them navigating that. Maybe dealing with river pirates even. It adds another layer of adventure to the timber story.
That's fantastic. Okay, so as we keep exploring these different eras with Bronchi and Pig, we'll keep using that idea you mentioned earlier, the compass.
Right, the guiding compass, half buried in the soil, always pointing towards the past that made us.
It's more than just a tool, right? It's a metaphor for their whole journey, helping us find our way through all this history.
Exactly. It represents how they guide us, literally and figuratively, back to the origins and through the evolving story of Ashley County.
And it reminds us that history isn't over.
Not at all. It never stops. It's not just a collection of facts locked in the past. It's this continuous flow that shapes everything in our present.
So this whole journey, guided by Bronchi and Pig and the historical accounts.
It's really about understanding that lasting impact. How choices made centuries ago about land, settlements, industry, how they still echo today, still shape the opportunities and challenges in Ashley County.
Recognizing those invisible lines like the surveyor's lines we talked about.
Exactly. The surveyor's lines, the pioneer's paths, the timber laid for railroads, they all subtly direct the course of our communities, even now.
So, okay, let's bring it back. What does all this mean for you, our curious listener, tuning in?
Good question.
It means this deep dive into Ashley County, seeing it through Bronchi and Pig's eyes, it's way more than just a history lesson, isn't it?
It's an experience.
A vibrant journey.
Full of humor.
Yeah, but also rich historical detail and really profound human stories. It's designed for your own personal discovery, especially, thinking of Brad, if you're someone who likes to learn on the go, uncovering surprising bits, connecting with the human spirit behind it all.
Making history engaging, not just informative.
That's the goal. Bronchi and Pig are here to make that journey memorable and enjoyable. They're basically inviting you to walk those old paths with them, hear the old voices, and see the enduring spirit of Ashley County through their unique, curious perspective. Wow, what an incredible first step we've taken today into Ashley County. We've already covered so much: the Quapaw beginnings, the frontier settlements, the role of rivers and timber.
Guided by Goodspeed and Etheridge.
Right. And we've only just scratched the surface of those sawmill stories that are coming up next.
Plenty more to unpack there.
Definitely. So get ready, because the full story of this region, where centuries of voices, laughter, struggles, triumphs, it's all waiting. We've lit the lantern, like we said, and the path forward looks fascinating.
Absolutely. And as we sort of pause here before we dive into the next part of the story, maybe something to think about.
Okay, a takeaway thought.
Yeah. Consider this. How do those lines, we talked about the ones drawn by surveyors centuries ago, or even the lines drawn by storytellers like Etheridge, how do they still subtly shape the landscape of our lives, our communities, even if we don't consciously see them every day?
How do those historical contours still affect opportunities and challenges now? That's a deep one.
It makes you think about hidden structures, doesn't it?
It really does. And maybe another thought, too. What personal memories or local tales, maybe like the ones Brad is creating with Bronchi and Pig, what stories do you hold? Stories that deserve to be woven into the fabric of your own community's history.
Everyone has those threads, those connections.
Definitely something to ponder as we reflect on Ashley County's beginnings. Okay, join us next time. We'll continue the chronicles of Bronchi and Pig's Ashley County adventure.
Next up, the Sawmill stories.
Yes, diving deep into the sawdust-scented origins of that timber capital. And a huge thank you again for the incredible source material making this possible. Goodspeed's biographical and historical memoirs of Ashley County, Arkansas, and Y.W. Etheridge's History of Ashley County, both found in the Of T. Switzer Jr. papers.
Invaluable resources.
Truly, we seriously can't wait to share the next chapter of this deep dive with you. Until then, keep digging.